and welcome to KidJam Home Edition Week 10. So today begins a brand new curriculum. We're going to be talking about under construction and how God is at work in each of our lives. We are the construction site where God is doing something amazing. So come along with us for the next few weeks to find out just how God is at work in each of our lives. Come join us. Let's get started.
Hey guys, my name's Rusty. I'm your construction foreman, and for the next 8 weeks, we're going to be doing a construction project right here. And you guys are going to help me. We're going to learn about everything it takes to build, from blueprints to scheduling to materials and all the things it takes to build right. And as we learn about each and every part of the job, we're also going to learn about how God is at work in us, building faith in the hearts of people who love Jesus. But first things first, before you can build anything, you have to have a proper permit. A permit is a document that says you have permission to build. You can't build anything without permission from the proper authorities, and if you try to do anything without the Lord, well...
Excuse me. Sir, I noticed you were performing a skit.
Who, me? Why, yes ma'am, I'm just doing a skit about...
Do you have a permit?
A what?
A permit, sir. Do you have a permit to perform a skit?
Who's asking?
Tennille Woods, Chief Compliance Officer of the Canadian Association of Comedy. I need to see your permit, sir.
There's a permit for this?
Yes, sir. Article 7, Section 16, Paragraph 13b states that all skits performed within the confines of this province must be properly permitted, or otherwise all actors and associated theatrical staff will be subject to heavy fines as provided under Article 14, Section 9, Paragraphs 12a through 14c.
Heavy fines?
May I see your permit, sir?
When you say heavy fines, are we talking hundreds, thousands?
You don't have a permit, sir, do you?
Well,
Do you know what the fine is for conducting a skit without a permit in this province?
Of course,
Sir, you're going to have to come with me.
But
You should have taken a lesson from the people who built the Tower of Babel.
That's what I was...
They tried to build a tower to heaven without God's permission, and God thwarted their plans, just like the Canadian Association of Comedy thwarted yours.
You know, for a lady who represents the Canadian Association of Comedy, you're not very funny.
Come along now, sir. I hope you have cash because we do not accept checks.
Oh, help me!
Construction sites are amazing places. They're exciting, action-packed, work-filled areas with giant noise machines, from bulldozers to giant cranes. It's always exciting when we get to see the ground cleared and construction begin work in our neighborhood. What's gonna go in that space? Will it be an office building, a new toy store, a new restaurant, amusement park, movie theater, shopping center, coffee spot, maybe even a candy store? Every new construction site brings with it the hopes and dreams of someone who wants to do something new in the community. But before anyone can build anything, they have to make one important step. They have to ask permission. No building, bank, church, mall, stadium can start construction until the local building department says they have permission. Even if you want to build on your own land, the local government still needs to review your plans, know who's going to be working the job, and make sure you are following all the local laws before you can start digging. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kind of like childhood. Kids always have to ask for permission. Can I play video games? Can I go outside? Can I touch the saw? You probably thought, one time or another, when I get older, I'll be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want. Well, unfortunately, that just isn't true. Even adults have to ask for permission. Adults need to ask permission to build, to drive, to get married, to do so many things. We need licenses and permits. And if we don't have the proper ones, then we get into big trouble. Our first Bible story in this new construction series is about a building project, the first of its kind recorded in history. There are no zoning authorities or building codes in this ancient time, but the people of the city of Babel still failed to ask permission to build their tower to the skies. They soon learned a valuable lesson. If God does not sign off on our plans are doomed to fail. The story is in Genesis 11, verses 1 to 9. And it says, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As men moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They each said to each other, 'Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly.' They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we can make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth.' But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the men were building. The Lord said, 'If as one people, speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other.' So the Lord scattered them from here and there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth." The people wanted to be in control. They wanted to be like God. They banded together to make a tower, which was nothing more than a monument to themselves. God knew that if they did this, they would forget Him and forget how much they depended on Him. The people thought they could do anything on their own, but God was much bigger than their plans. One minute they're working and hammering away in harmony. The next minute, ils ont de la difficulté à comprendre l'un et l'autre. Ils commencent à parler en anglais, en français, en espagnol, en russe. Ils ne pouvaient pas parler aux autres, alors ils ont dû arrêter de construire la tour. Oh, sorry. I mean, they suddenly had difficulty understanding each other, and they began to speak in many different languages. Since they could no longer understand each other, they had to stop building the tower. Their building failed because they failed to ask God for His permission to build and give Him the glory for the finished product. Did you know that God has amazing plans for your life? One of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 29:11-13. "I know the plans I have for you, announces the Lord. I want you to enjoy success. I do not plan to harm you. I will give you hope for the years to come. Then you will call out to me. You will come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. When you look for me with all your heart, you will find me." That's right. God has plans for your life. I know you are thinking, but I have plans for my own life. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be that, and do that. But what if God has something more in store for you? What if He knows you better than you know yourself, and can see the bigger picture of your life? In Psalm 139, it talks about how much God knows us. And I want to challenge you to read Psalm 139 this week. Find out just how much God knows you. I'm going to read just a couple snippets from Psalm 139. So it says, "Lord, you have seen what is in my heart. You know all about me. You know when I sit down and when I get up. You know exactly how I live. You are all around me, behind me, and in front of me. You hold me safe in your hand. I'm amazed at how well you know me. Suppose I were to rise with the sun in the east. Suppose I travel to the west where it sinks into the ocean. Your hand would always be there to guide me. Your right hand would be still holding me close. You created the deepest parts of my being. How you made me is wonderful and amazing. You planned how many days I would live. You wrote down the number of them in your book. God, your thoughts about me are priceless. No one can possibly add them all up. If I could count them, they would be more than the grains of sand. If I were to fall asleep counting and then wake up, you would still be there with me." Wow. God really knows you. Not just the you show everyone else, but He knew you before you were born. He made you. He knows every little thought that you think and everything you do in secret. There's absolutely nowhere that you can go to get away from God. God even thinks about you. The amount of God's thoughts about you are more than all the grains of sand. Look at all the sand in this bucket. If I start counting all the little grains, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 101, 102, 103, 1001, 1002, 1003. I just can't count them all. So if God is always around you, if His thoughts about you are more than the grains of the sand, I think He knows you and I better than we know ourselves. That means that His plans for our lives are better than anything we could ever imagine for ourselves. If we follow His plan for our lives, then our plans will succeed. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts human beings plan their lives, but the Lord decides where their steps will take them." Proverbs 19:21 says, "A person may have many plans in their heart, but the Lord's purpose wins out in the end." God has a plan and a purpose for each of your lives. We need to follow God's plans for our lives instead of going our own way. To know His plans for our lives and what step to take next, we need to talk to God, listen for His leading, and read His Word. His Word already reveals much of the plans God has for us. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Luke 10:27. And go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Mark 16 verse 15. As you continue to learn about what God has in store for your life, keep talking to Him. Ask His opinion on everything you do, and keep reading your Bible, as so many of what God plans for us are already revealed in there. Well, that's it for me today. Time to jump into your small groups and see what great conversations you can have today. Happy small grouping!